Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be showing you guys how to scrape this table that has upcoming stock buybacks so that we don't have to dig through the financials to find if they announced a buyback or the amount. This table from MarketBeat has all of 2022 announcements for share buybacks. So we're going to go ahead and scrape this table and format some of the columns so that we can make calculations off of the amounts. So let's go through the script. So here are some of the packages we're going to require. To get the table, we're just going to call this function, which has no parameters. It'll just grab the table and format it. And the first step is to provide the URL where the table is located. So I'm going to go ahead and run line 6. We're going to go ahead and read that page. We're going to go ahead and extract that table from the page. Let's take a look at the unformatted table. Alright, from the page we were able to grab 110 different tickers, and as you see from the first column we have the ticker name and the company name. We're going to end up pulling the tickers from the page so that we don't have to format this column. We get the current price and the percentage change for the day. We also get the date of the announcement. They also provide the percentage of shares being bought back out of the shares outstanding. We get the buyback amount, the offer type, the buyback type, the 52-week range, and the indicators. We're going to end up formatting this 52-week range column and dropping this indicator since it's not really relevant to our buybacks. So let's start off by adding the tickers. I ended up digging through the HTML and noticed that all the tickers were saved in this class called ticker area, and all the company names were saved in this class called title area. So we're going to go ahead and extract both of these so that we don't have to format that column. So I'll go ahead and run these two lines. We're going to format the announcement date. We're going to drop any NAs from the table. We're going to add the ticker symbols as a column. I'm going to do a bit of reformatting or reordering of the columns. And I'm also going to replace the company name column with the corrected names. We're going to remove any duplicate rows. Now if we take a look at table, now we have a total of 8 columns and 101 different entries. We now have a nice formatted column for the tickers. We're now left to format the current price, the percentage shares, and the buyback amounts. And if you notice, for the buyback amounts, we either get a dollar amount or a specific number of shares. So later down the script, I'm going to be separating the instances of dollar amounts and moving the share amounts to a different column. But for now, we're going to get statistics for each of these tickers via Yahoo Finance. So if we continue on with our script, we're going to get the latest quote for all these stocks, and we're going to extract the last traded price, the change in percent for the day, the 52-week low, the 52-week high, and the market cap. So let's save that into quote table. Now we're going to go ahead and add these numbers to our main table. So we start off by creating empty columns. So I'm going to create one for each of these. So I'll go ahead and run this block. I'm going to use a for loop to iterate through the rows so that we match up the data to the correct ticker. And I'll be assigning the current price, the percentage change, the 52-week high, and the 52-week low, along with the market cap. So let's run through that block. Now let's go back to our table to take a look. And if we scroll to the right, we now see the percentage change for the day, the 52-week low, the 52-week high, and the market cap. And we formatted our current price, effectively turning this into a numeric column. Now we're going to turn this percentage of shares column into numeric, and the way we're going to do that is by dropping the percentage sign and dividing by 100. So let's run that line. Now, as I mentioned in our table, this buyback amount has dollar amounts and share amounts. So I'm going to create a new column to move the share amounts so that we can later format the dollar amounts and convert these to numeric. So let's create that column. We're going to name that column buyback shares. Now I'm going to move the instances of that column that have SHS for shares into that new column I created. And here we're making sure that it moves to the appropriate row. So if we run that and take a look at table, we will still see the share amounts here, but they should have also been copied to our new column. So here we have buyback shares, and we see that we have 8 million. And if we scroll down, here we have another instance of 5 million shares. It got moved to the appropriate column. And if we keep scrolling, we'll see a couple more instances. So now for the instances where we have a flat number instead of million, we will format this number and convert it to numeric. And the way we're going to do that is by removing the comma. So here we're looking at the buyback shares column. We're going to replace any commas with empty spaces. Also in that same column, we're going to replace the instances of million and add e to the 6 so that we can easily convert these to numeric. Now we can drop the share amounts from our dollar amounts column, and we're going to replace those with NAs. Let's double check with our table. Alright, so we have replaced the share amounts with NAs in the buyback amount column. And if we scroll to the right, we see the formatted amounts in shares. Now we're going to go ahead and format this dollar amount column by dropping the dollar signs and removing the million or billion instances. So here in our script, we're going to use gsub to replace those instances. So here we see we have the dollar sign, which will get replaced with empty spaces. Million or billion will either get replaced by e to the 6 or e to the 9. And after we replace those characters, we're going to turn that column into numeric. So let's run that block. Take a look at our table. We now see the formatted dollar amounts. Now for each of these NAs, we can calculate the dollar amounts by multiplying the current price with the number of shares that will be bought back. So we're going to go ahead and fill these NAs. So again, we're going to iterate using a for loop, and if that column contains an NA, we're going to multiply the buyback shares column with the current price. Otherwise, if it's not an NA, we're just going to leave that amount alone. So let's run this for loop. And in our table, we shouldn't see any more NAs. So if we scroll to the right, here we have buyback shares. So this number got added. So it looks like they're willing to spend approximately 408 million to buy back shares. Now that we have these dollar amounts set, we can go ahead and fill the approximate number of shares that will be bought back by dividing the buyback amount by the current price. So again, we're going to use a for loop to do that. So this time it'll be the other way. If the buyback shares column has an NA, we're going to use the buyback amount and divide by the current price. Otherwise, just leave that instance alone. So let's run that for loop. We'll take a look at our table. Scroll all the way to the right. Now we have an estimate of the approximate number of shares that will be bought back using the current price. Now I'm going to divide the market cap by the current price to get the estimated number of shares outstanding. So we'll do that in this line, dividing the market cap by the current price. Now we can add a column that will give us the percentage of market cap that will be bought back. Or another way to look at it is the percentage of shares that will be bought back from the number of shares outstanding. Each of these will yield the same percentage. So I'm just going to add the percentage of market cap. We'll take a look at table. If we scroll all the way to the right, we see that we have these two new columns. And if we take a look at this percentage, which is close to 18%, and we compare it to what was given from the site, we see that they're very close. I believe it's slightly off because they probably used the stock price on the release date, and I'm using the current market cap according to today's price. So this table is now finalized. We can go ahead and return the table, and returning only the instances where the buyback amount is greater than 0. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this function. We'll go ahead and run it. We can go ahead and test the function. We'll take a look at table. We now get this formatted table every time we run that function. And now you can keep track of future buybacks without having to dig through the financials. Well guys, this concludes the video. I hope this was useful information. I'll go ahead and leave a link down in the description area to the Patreon where you can find the script. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.